I think I have a pretty good synopsis of what's going on. So I'll just read those note cards, answer the questions, talk about them. I don't have any questions, so if we're all good, do a little sound check. 1, 2, 1, 2. We good? All right, cool. What's going on, everybody? It is your podcast host, Nate Larry of The Talking Block, and I'm here with TTB Magazine, and this is Why I Podcast. All right, question 1. When did you start podcasting? Started podcasting at the age of about 14 or 15, October 26, 2020. I was a sophomore in high school, and around this time, it was actually coming out of a very eventful summer. Now thinking about it, yeah, I've been podcasting for about maybe 3 years going on 4. So it's been quite some time, and I really enjoy it. Really enjoy it. All right, question 2. Future goals in your podcasting career. Some future goals in my podcasting career. I talk a lot about my future goals on my podcast, but to break some of them down, I think the biggest one is just being a light to those that watch. Fame, popularity, all that is nice. And granted, I kind of do want it, in the aspect of, it just means that I've built something that people see, and it's not just, well, this is what he does, but we appreciate him for it. But yeah, I really just want people to be able to grab something from everything that I talk about, whether it be on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever they listen. Another goal of mine is to have my own studio. It's a very big dream that I wish to have. Just to call something my own and have my own space, I really would. It'd be something great to have with, the way that I see it, the way that it's designed, whatever the building, however the building is, how big it is, how much acres it takes up, doesn't matter. Just have something that is mine and, for the podcast. I think another goal of mine would be to definitely be more adventurous on this podcast. I am, as many know, taking a few steps back from the whole face-to-face microphone, podcasting stereotypical type way, but want to do vlogs, want to do a lot more these things like this. So just figuring out more adventurous ways to grab the audience and be able to, reel them in, keep them in, and as a podcaster, doing lots of fun things. So yeah, that's some future goals of mine. All right, third question. Meaning behind your podcast name. So my podcast name is The Talking Block, and it stemmed more so just out of randomness, really. I was trying to go through a whole bunch of names. I've done a lot in my podcasting career. Might talk about it, might not, who knows. But through, different names and trying to figure out what exactly I wanted this to be named, I came across The Talking Block. I thought of a neighborhood. I thought of a block party. I thought of, community. I thought of a lot of different things. And it was me talking to that neighborhood. It was me talking to that community. So it became The Talking Block. It has had a few changes. At first it was ing, but then, some things changed and it became in apostrophe. I'd love it either way. It doesn't matter, but the name itself just stemmed from being a community, being a neighborhood, and me talking and, entertaining that neighborhood that I'm building, that I'm creating. Right. Question 4. One achievement in your podcast career. I think one achievement would definitely be my 1,000 listens. It's definitely surreal for me to think that I have 1,000 listens. Followers and all that doesn't mean much for me because those come and go, but the listens, those stay the same. Once you listen, you can't go back. Granted, you can stop listening, but once you've listened to something that I've put out there, you can't take that listen back. So that means that for me, 1,000 people, and some of those people are always going to be reoccurring people, but overall, 1,000 people plus maybe have tuned into my podcast, appreciated what I'm doing, and have come back time and time again. Because, again, you got to think about it. And I won't go into the analytical aspect of it, but every time I look on my analytics, I see we're listening in Germany. Like, that's crazy to me. That means that somebody in Germany goes back every time and is willing to listen once time again. So yeah, it's just that would definitely be a very big achievement of mine, having 1,000 listens overall. The followers, the fans, the supporters, whatever you want to call them, that's another thing. Having that amount of people, just in my corner, willing to listen to me talk every once and time again, it's really nice. I think that another achievement would be going this long. I know it says one achievement, but I have to get this out there. Going this long is not easy on my part because I've had a lot of doubt and, self-sabotage about, this isn't the thing for me. This isn't podcasting. It was the one-time hobby. So going this long, 4 years is a long time when you think about it. That's 4 years of putting a camera in my face, not worrying about what people have to say, not worrying about what people think, and just being confident in everything that I've posted for the most part, because confidence for me has been But that would also be another thing. Just putting stuff out there for 4 years and willingly allowing people to watch. And if they criticize, they criticize. If they don't, they don't. So yeah, that's one achievement of mine. All right, next question. What made you start podcasting? This kind of goes back to question one about when did I start podcasting? I started podcasting. What made me start podcasting was during the summer of 2020, right before, everything was going on. I was just seeing this was during the Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of looting, rioting, protest, continuous police brutality, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. Those were that times for me. And I just really felt like I really wanted to say something. I had no exact clue about how I was going to do it. But after it had died down a little bit, because we're in October now, and that's when I started podcasting. But I had seen an ad for Anchor, which is now Spotify for podcasters, but 4 years ago, it was Anchor. And it was like, hey, you want to start podcasting? You want to talk? You want to get your words out? Well, download this free app. And I did. And so Society Changed Do I? That was my very first podcast. And that's where I just talked about what was going on and what I was seeing and how I felt. And from there, it was up. It was definitely a thrill for me at that time, because once I hit that submit button and it was aired out to who knows how many people at the time, there was no going back. People were listening. People were tuning in to what they would not know to become a very beyond excited little boy. And for him in that moment, he would not know the journey that he was going to embark on, doing this for 4 years, and hopefully to do this continuously for more. All right, do we know what question this is? No? Okay. We'll just continue to say next question. Next question. Talk about your slogan. So my slogan is, if I can change one mind, that mind will change another. Those minds will change so many more, become a chain of changed minds. That started very first podcast episode. Very first. And that was, let's break it down. If I can change one mind, that's me talking to you guys. If I can change your mind, that's a start. That mind will change another. That mind that I changed is going to go to another person. They're going to change their mind. Those minds will change so many more. Each person that we're changing their mind, the mind of, they're going to go to the next person. Those people are going to go to those people, next people, and it's just going to continue. So those people are going to change minds. We become a chain of changed minds. That part has a kind of a double meaning. It means, once we become together stronger, we become a chain. A chain is very unbreakable. Certain chains, when you link them together, it's hard to break it. It also stems from one of my favorite movies, Planet of the Apes, when Caesar goes like this, He says apes together stronger. And what he's referring to is together we are stronger. And for me, it's the same thing. When we decide to come together, when we're not worried about, who has this, how much money this person's making next door, the color of their skin, whatever the case may be, when we come together, we become a chain of change mind. We become unbreakable. We're able to do a lot more. And that's how that my slogan came apart. I think I don't know. I just know that I I always want to shed a light, and I don't know exactly how it came to be what it is today, but I know that in that moment, that's the words that flew out of my mouth, and that's the words I've been sticking to since day one, since October 26, 2020. That's the words that have been coming out of my mouth, and it's just flown high ever since, and I would not change that slogan for anything. All right. What does podcasting mean to you? Podcasting is became an outlet. It's became a wheel of emotions for me. It's gotten me through a lot of times, honestly, because being a high schooler, being a weirdo, being sometimes alone, you don't have people to talk to. And that's what podcasting did for me. It gave me an outlet for people to understand how I felt, for people to, that those that felt the same about the way that I was feeling, they had a microphone, a megaphone, or whatever to relate to. It wasn't just for me, and I will always continuously say that those people that needed someone to hear what they were saying, to know how they felt, I was now that person. Podcasting, alongside it being a light for people, is a way for me to just interact with different people. I'm a very adventurous person. I want to go to different countries. I want to have dialogue with many different people. I want to be able to, this to be a cultural podcast, not just for, hey, this kid is black. He knows a lot about black culture, but I want to go to the West Coast, East Coast, whatever the case may be, learn about those different cultures, because even in America, there's so much going on, from what happens in North Carolina to what happens in California. Just as what happens in the United States is different from what happens over there in China, Indonesia, Africa, Europe, all those different places. So I want it to be a cultural podcast. I want there to be different things that people see on my podcast and are able to learn from that. At the end of the day, podcasting is no longer, is it just a hobby? It's my life. It's what I strive to do every day. I wake up hoping that I get to podcast another day and hoping that somebody gets something from it. That's what podcasting means to me. All right. Next question. If you could change your podcast, what would it be about? Um, I don't know exactly if I would change it entirely. I think we have what, three more questions, and one of those questions definitely does get into what I would it pertains to this question, but I don't think I would change it entirely. I would say that I would change the aspect of it. Doing this solo dolo is kind of hard sometimes, so I definitely think I would go into the partnership with somebody. Now, it would have to be somebody pretty serious about it, as serious as I am about it. And I think that might have been a little harder for me recognizing that when I was younger. So I think that's why I went solo. But if I, again, could go back and change it, I would definitely grab a friend and, hey, let's make a podcast. Not saying that I don't like my solo dolo podcast, because I do. I just, for me, I think probably would have been better if I had done it with somebody, learned, the avenues of podcasting, and then said, hey, I still want to continue this, or I don't want to continue this. I want to do this myself now. I think that would have been a better journey for me, marketing wise, podcasting wise, producing wise, videography wise, everything wise, because it's kind of hard learning everything by myself. And at times it makes me want to crash out. Makes me want to crash out completely. But yeah, doing this with somebody first and then possibly going into that solo career of podcasting would have definitely been probably one of my biggest changes if I had to change anything about the podcast, or, if I could change my podcast in general. Next question. What other podcasts do I listen to? Um, I listen to Caller Daddy with Alex Smith. Uh, Love her. She's had Ellen Pompeo up there. She's had Leah Caleb up there from Love Island, which I love. Um, she's had Millie Bobby Brown up there. She's had a lot of wonderful people, and I just love her. She's definitely one of those influencers that I look up to on my podcasting journey. Um, I haven't been with her long, probably been listening to her for about a year, but even then, I just love what she's doing. I love, her light and everything that she's doing on the podcast. And I'm going to continue to watching her and hopefully strive to do what she's doing. Another person, or people in this case, that I listen to are the Kelsey brothers, Travis Kelsey and Jason Kelsey, New Heights. I haven't also been listening to them long, probably like 2 years. Call Her Daddy, maybe a year. But Travis and Jason, New Heights, love them. They are a sports podcast, and they just talk about their football careers. They bring different people up there, talk about their life achievements, their life journeys and careers. Singers, songwriters, athletes, doesn't matter, but mainly athletes because that's who they are. But love them. That's actually kind of where I got my news kind of intro from. Theirs is new news. But mine is just news or something like that. But that's where I got that from, because I love them, watching them, and their just energy is very fulfilling. It's very wholesome. Also love when Jason's wife Kylie decides to come up there, which is also another thing. Kylie Kelsey has a podcast now that I want to get into. I just haven't started it yet, but I'm going to put her up there because I love Kylie Kelsey, and I think hers is, I forgot what her podcast is about, but it's about her being a mother. And I think she also has another one coming out, or that came out, with Alama Lana Pamar, a rugby player for America. They recently just won a gold medal in rugby for the Olympics, but she has another podcast with her. And then one of the last podcasts that I listened to, that I've been listening to for years, is Good Mythical Morning with Rhett and Link. They are actually, I think, stationed here, or have a studio here in Raleigh, North Carolina, that since I've been in middle school, from them eating bugs with Bug Wars to, darts boarding, to Good Mythical More, to Ear Biscuits. I've been listening to them forever, and I extremely love them and their energy, their laughter, their friendship, all of the above. Love Good Mythical Morning. And I think that's all the podcasts I listen to. I sometimes listen to, like, because me being a Christian, I do listen to devotionals every once in a while. I will say that is something that I want to work on. But every once in a while, I do listen to devotionals. I also listen to true crime, conspiracy theories. I love conspiracy theories. Um, Love listening to that. But yeah, I think that's all the podcasts that I listen to. Definitely plan to listen to more. So maybe you should ask me that again in a couple years or months, and let's see what else I listen to.
Tune in to Everything Black
with your sisters
from another Mr. Anela
and Jayla,
and your brothers
from another mother, Robert
and Nate. And on Everything Black, it's a bit of cultural diversity in the Black community,
where we share our point of views and opinions as Black kings and queens.
Learn about the points of interest from people of color,
from the Black kids. So tune in
on Spotify
today.
All right, this is the last question, and it is a highlight in your podcasting career. This ties into what I could change about my podcast, and a highlight in my podcasting career would be bringing in a rag team of 4: Jalen, Anela, Robert, and Nate. we had a podcast called Everything Black. It was with the black kids, just the black kids is what it was. And it was us talking about the black culture because that's what we knew best. That's what we were. We were black. And so that's what we talked about. I would call that a highlight of my career because in my podcasting career, I've done a lot. I've had tons of podcasts. I know there was one podcast where I brought up people, asked them 10 questions. It was 10 questions under 30. I remember the podcast name exactly. And I would bring them up, ask them 10 questions. They had to answer it in 30 seconds. Larry A's Lounge was another one. I only did one podcast episode with that, and that was with my dad. But that was just basically a version of the Talking Block that I was, at the time, just trying to run away from because I felt like the Talking Block was a failure. But Everything Black was a podcast bringing in friends that wanted to do something that I wanted to do and enjoyed it. We ran a couple of episodes and then it just kind of stopped. I do blame myself for it. You know, it was a lack of leadership and it was lack of, maturity on my aspect of things because I was trying to chase something that I probably shouldn't have been chasing at the moment. And so running 2 podcasts was a lot of stress for me. And that's where the lack of leadership came from. But through that podcast, I wouldn't have changed anything about it. I absolutely loved who I did it with. Their energy was amazing. Doing it with them every time that I got the chance was amazing. And the reason why I say if I could change it to that is if I had felt that the Talking Block had failed or was going to fail, that's where I would have put my focus at. I would have, because that I knew was not, at the time I knew that wasn't going to fail. I really felt like that had a lot of potential and it still does to this day, but we won't get into that. But yeah, that was a very, I don't know how to put the words together, but it was a very high quality, if it had continued, high potential podcast that was definitely a highlight of my podcasting career. All right. That is all of the questions. I really appreciate TTB Magazine for having me today. I hope to do this again. It was really fun. And it was definitely, there's a lot of questions that, you could ask me as a podcaster that I would love to answer. So I definitely really wish that and hope that they bring me back. As for where you can listen to The Talking Block, listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, wherever you get your audio stream podcast platforms. Stay on YouTube, watch The Talking Block live here. Follow me on Instagram at TheTalkin'Block, TikTok, toast.to.becoming. And make sure that you listen. Like, comment, subscribe on The Talking Block. Make sure to tell me what you guys liked about this podcast and check out TTB Magazine, soon to come out whenever they decide to put something out, because I don't know, but I hope to see you guys next time. And that is a wrap. Thank you. Love you guys.